Welcome back everybody to another Geometry Dash 2.2 tutorial. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a really cool 3D effect, and as always my tutorials are going to be super duper beginner friendly, so let's get straight into it. By the way, slap the subscribe right now because we're trying to hit 100k on this channel as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a line of blocks like so. And we're going to go ahead and give it a color by going to edit object, and we're going to give it, for example, 8. I'm going to make 8 like a bluish like that. This looks pretty cool. And now thinking about it, it kind of blends into the background. So I'm going to change this one to, let's say, actually I'm going to do like pinkish, like that. Looks pretty cool. And now we want to make this 3D. Now you could use these guys, but the problem with them is that they're a bit too short for the effect that I am trying to achieve. You could do that and then flip this over and then place this, which looks like 3D, but I want to have it even more, so kind of like that. You guys know what I'm saying, but this is not the way to do it, so we're gonna find a way to do it. So you guys can see, if you just take a look at this effect, it's pretty much just a slope like that. If you just put a slope in here, that's pretty much the exact same thing, and then we place it like that, and another slope goes into here. And that's exactly what all of this is. So 24 objects, we have optimized it to only 8, and it just looks much cleaner. So this looks really cool now, but to make it even cooler, what we want to do is we want to give it some sort of lightning. So let's say lighting, not lightning, lighting. So we want to add, let's say a light was in here. So you want to see this surface is going to be the brightest, the one on the top, and this one's going to be like somewhat bright, and this one's going to be really dark. So to do that, what we want to do is take a look at this. So it has 8, so we want to make all of these 8, and then we want to make this one also 8. And now the trick is that you want to select these guys and just click on here, and then one more time, and then you can adjust the brightness like so. You can even click on this if you want to. And saturation also, let's give it a bit of that. And this one, now we want to do the same thing, but now we're going to make the brightness a bit lower. And with that, you guys can see that it doesn't look that good. Why? Because this is a single block. And if you guys know how to fix this, you guys are already on it. We just need to copy and paste this, rotate it, copy and paste it, and rotate it again. And to copy the color in here so that you don't have to like do it again, you can just select this, copy values, select this, paste color. And with that, you guys can see that it just looks phenomenal. Looks really cool. And I'm just going to go ahead and save the level. And I'm just going to teach you guys how you can make different types of blocks. So let's say you had a long boy, you had a bit of a square, and we're even going to do one with slopes. So we're going to go a bit crazy. So I'm going to copy the values, and I'm just going to make like a random slope. Let's say like a diamond, and let's go slope with blocks. So if you guys want to go like fancy crazy stuff, you guys can do that too. So select everything, paste color, and now we're just going to go ahead and add this exact same 3D effect on all of them. So you want to make sure that it's always going to the same direction. So on the top right, that's where our thing is going. So you guys can see that this thing can always be copied and pasted into these corners. And that's pretty cool. So we're going to do that over here. And now we're going to copy this one to here, select, actually we're going to select this one, select all of these and paste color, because we just copied the values from that one. And you guys can see this is starting to look pretty cool. We can add background effects later too, but for now I think this should do it. Okay, so it's something like this, and then you can just copy and paste that one, copy and paste this one, and then copy and paste that one. Right? Looks very cool. Okay, so this thing. So what you want to do when it comes to a block, and if you want to know how the 3D looks like, you guys just like take a look at this. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's kind of like going to the upper right section. You guys see that? So it's always on that line. So just do the exact same thing here. So going like that will actually make it look like this, which doesn't look that good at first, but once you do it, you're gonna be like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. So something like this, which doesn't look that great at first, but we're gonna implement even more 3D effects just to make it stand out more. So this thing over here goes like that, and this thing goes like so. And in here, what we want to do is like this, and this surface is at the top. So we're going to have to do that. And we're going to copy this and paste that. And this one goes like that. And you guys can see it looks pretty cool. Now, you guys can see that this one doesn't really look that good. And that's because the 3D for this specific block just doesn't look good. So if you want to make a level, just don't use it, I guess. Just like make it look a bit different. You can like expand it or something. Actually, I'm gonna bring it back and we're just gonna expand. If you just do this, like that's pretty much it. Like you don't need any crazy stuff. And now by just adding the same exact stuff, you guys can see that it's just much cleaner. And if you want to make it even cleaner, just do this and make it just longer. And now it looks very cool. So 3D things, how do we spice this up even more? So one thing I love doing is adding glow to these guys, because like we said, the light is coming from the left side. So we want to add a glow like this onto this guy only. So to do that, what we want to do is firstly select this thing. We want to do this. And then I'm going to use the warping system, and we're going to place this anchor point right here and disable the ground, because for some reason this guy goes under the ground. That's not a big issue. And now by using this, you guys can see that we are basically creating this slopey looking gradient, which looks pretty cool. And the color that I'm going to use for this is going to be this one, but I'm going to add even more saturation to it to make it look like that. And now you guys can see that it looks pretty cool. Just adjust the saturation so that it doesn't look weird. So something like this that we can use on all of our objects like so. And you guys can see that sometimes it's just not correct. And that's because we're using slopes. And slopes, to fix that, you just have to play around with this. So how do we want this? We want this to be like that, this, it's going to be like a 45-degree thing. So 0.1.4 sounds good. And this like that. Yeah, this is exactly what we want. So we want to get rid of this. I'm going to place this right here. And now thinking about it, maybe even these guys should be, if you want to like separate these two, we're going to see how it looks like. Okay. So if you want to see if something looks cool, you're just going to copy and paste it. We're going to move this away and we're going to place this right here. So I'm going to make this even darker. And this one is going to be the exact same as the old dark, like that, because it's a slope. And you guys can decide which one looks cooler. To me, this one just fits more because all of them just start really bright at the top. But if you want to go for this, you can do that as well because it's a slope, you know? So we're going to do this, and now we're going to do the exact same thing, but for these guys. So we're going to place this thing, we're going to do that, and we're going to bring it up like so, and we're going to select this, copy value, select that, paste color, and just make it a bit darker. You guys can see it's starting to look really cool. So by just adding this pretty much on all of these guys, it's just looking really cool. Nice little detail. And one thing I also want to add is like checkerboard onto these guys. I could use the available block like that, but the problem with it is that it has these edges which doesn't really fit our corner-y block type. So I'm gonna have to create a checkerboard myself. So we're gonna use something like this, and we're gonna use the color of 8. So we're gonna do that, and one of them is gonna be slightly lower like so. And we're going to make this on top of everything. So we're going to bring it up by the Z layer. And now if we just want to see if we like scale it down, does it look good? I think it does. Now what we want to do is, before we actually scale it down, what I want to do is I want to copy and paste it as many times as I want. And I'm also going to select them all, bring them onto a new layer, and go to that layer by clicking this button. And by doing that, we now have this. And we're just going to give it a try. I'm going to copy and paste it because this one's all going to be ruined. It's going to be like warped. So we're going to do this. Then we're going to make it small. And then we're going to make it less warpy by doing that. And just make sure it's perfectly like that. And this looks really cool. So one thing that might work is basically selecting these guys. I'm just going to try it out. And we're going to copy and paste them. Actually, before doing that, we're going to bring this up even more. Why? Because we're going to now select these and then that one. And these guys are going to be only one down. And they're going to use the color of 3, which is black, with a opacity of, let's say, 0.4. And this is how it looks. You guys can adjust the position of it so that it kind of feels like, yeah, this is very 3D looking, isn't it? So this looks like it's kind of coming out of the ground, but I would like to have it, you know, coming like into the ground, like it's like a hole, and in it there's checkerboard. So doing that still doesn't look good. So perhaps using this was just, yeah, let's just use that then. Okay, so after doing that, we're just going to go ahead and do the exact same thing for every single block, but this one's not going to have checkerboard because it's really short, but we're just going to copy and paste this and add this over to here, and we're going to do one in here as well. How do we do this? Well, it's a 45-degree thing, so it's really not going to be checkerboard at all. And I just realized I got rid of the thing, so we're gonna have to recreate it now. That's an L on me. So we're gonna do this paste. Just make sure you never actually get rid of the original one, because you're gonna need it a lot. So we're gonna make this rotate by 45. I'm gonna scale it down to like 0.75. Should be pretty good. And by doing this, bring it down. This one has to be up by 2. And now this is 3, and it looks very nice. So this one goes onto here as well, and that one goes onto here like that. So this looks actually pretty cool. And now looking at this, it doesn't have checkerboard. It's too small, like you can't really fit this in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it a bit larger, just so that it's like a bigger version of that. And yeah, this is much cleaner. Okay, so we're doing some excellent progress so far. One thing I might do is just like adding this guy right here and making it a bit darker. You guys can do that, but I don't think it looks cool. I just want to do like a sharp edge over here to emphasize the glow, the 3D effect, I mean. And now the background looks really weird with this 3D effect because the background is 2D and our thing is 3D. So how do we make the background 3D as well? I'm just going to go ahead, and I just realized I deleted the thing again, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to recreate it, and we're going to bring it onto a new layer, and we're going to do like a checkerboard ground, basically. And to do that, we're just going to we're going to make it like gray. I'm going to give it the color of 2. We're going to make this one a bit darker and make the entire color a bit darker so that it looks like this. And you could choose whether you want to have an entire block like that, and then do this. And I think it looks a bit weird. Yep, we're gonna have to use 2, so you don't have to scale it at all. It's really all about just looking at what could work and what doesn't work. And for me, this seems like it's working, but it's a bit too large, so maybe something like this. Ooh, yeah, this is looking so good. Okay, so this is our block now. We just need to like copy and paste it, and we're gonna have to, this is very important, we're gonna have to make it behind the blocks so that it doesn't, you know, lead to this weird effect. But yeah, you guys can see that it's starting to look phenomenal. So we're gonna go ahead and select all of them, bring them on to B2, and this does not bring them down. B3 maybe. Okay, B3 did. Okay, now one thing I love adding is shadow, because there's a block here. There has to be like shadow onto here. Like I said, we're doing 3D stuff. This ain't that easy, but I mean, you guys are watching my tutorial. It's pretty easy. Okay, so we're gonna choose color 3 to add this beautiful thing. Actually, I'm gonna use color 6 and just add a bit more opacity to it. So I'm just gonna adjust it over here, so that sounds good. I'm just gonna add it like so. And what is wrong with my boy over here? Oh, he's just cut like that. Okay, I don't want him to be cut. So I feel like having these kind of on the ground just make them look a lot cleaner. So we're gonna do that. And now what we want to do is just basically, also the reason why I did that is just because I want to copy and paste this beautiful looking shadow. And oh my god, this looks so 3D if you guys look at it. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna add a simple, like, how do you want to call it, like a glow-y effect. So we're gonna use this one, which is not that big. And then we're gonna just use that like so. And then this one is only gonna be for the ground, like that. This is ground. And then we're gonna make it low opacity so that the farther you are, the more light there's going to be. So we're gonna actually scale them down a bit like that. And yeah, that looks pretty neat. Okay, so how do we go on with this? Because if you show the ground, it still looks pretty cool, but we're gonna have, like I said, it's all about 3D stuff. So what we're gonna do is, how do we make this clean? We could use the ground of this thing, which is just a gradient ground, and you can change the color. We also do not want to have a line. We're gonna bring the line down to 0. And I'm thinking of just using the exact same thing, or what you could do is completely hide the ground and make a custom one. So using this, we can just hide the ground, and we're going to hide it in here as well. This thing doesn't work inside the editor, but you guys are going to see how it's going to work outside of the editor. So we're going to do this, copy, and then paste. And now we're just going to line them up exactly like that. And we're just going to copy and paste them just to make it like an infinite loop, basically. And okay, so we're just gonna do this and then that. And again, this is the ground because like it's always gonna be visible, so we're not gonna have to like delete blocks over here. So something like that looks pretty cool. Okay, so now you guys can see that this thing doesn't really make that much sense. So what I'm thinking of doing, you can just like do that, and we're gonna place it at the top, but instead it's going to be a light version. So I'm gonna use color 7, make it low opacity, and yeah, looks pretty cool. You can adjust this really to how you like. Now looking at it, maybe having this over the ground might be cleaner, like so. Yeah, this looks a lot cleaner. Okay, you want to make sure that this is actually like perfectly placed in here, because otherwise it's going to be weird. So something like this. And another thing I love adding is a gradient effect, which is going to be achieved using the gradient trigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 objects. We're going to add an X here and an X here. And firstly, I'm going to give this a color. I'm going to give 5 blending, and 4, let's give it like 3. And now you guys can see that we have this effect, but we want it to only occur between these guys. So just give them a new ID. Let's say this one is group ID of 1. This one is group ID of 2. And then by going to edit special on the gradient, you can just choose 1 and 2. And you guys can see that this thing only occurs between these 2. Now you want to rotate this like that. And you want to make it on top of like T1, for example. And we want to place this perfectly onto here. And we want to make it so that this is like really dark. So to do that, what we're going to have to do is just go over to here and see what looks cool. So something like this, and then we're going to rotate it because I want to have the bottom part be more dark. So something like that. And we have custom ground. You can choose exactly how you want it to look. And now looking at it, there might be something even sneakier that I might add. So select all of these, copy and paste, and move them around, and click here and build helper. Don't worry, you can rewatch this if you need to. And I'm just going to add like a custom glow effect. So this one's going to have the color of, let's say, 9. And 9 is going to be like a bluish, or what fits with pink. I don't know if I'm going to use pink as the final color. And if you want to change it, you can just, oh yeah, purple looks really nice. So what works with purple? I believe yellow looks cool with purple, but maybe red. Oh yeah, red always works with purple, bro. Red is beautiful. So something like this you could add, or you can even add it onto here by just rotating the gradient, as you guys can see. So, or you can just do it like coming from the left side, which will always work no matter where you are. So yeah, seeing that now, I want to decrease the opacity a bit just to, yeah, looks pretty cool. And now for the background, you can just choose like a plain color like that. And yeah, you can change the color of this as you wish. And what else do we need? I think that's almost it. I'm just going to add another block up here to show you guys how it would look like if you add an upper block here too, because it's pretty much the exact same thing if you think about it. It just has to be like this. And this thing is going to go up. We're going to copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. We're going to copy and paste all of this, put it in here. And that's how it looks. And also one thing you want to make sure, actually this is the ground, so it doesn't really matter. I was about to talk about the camera maybe moving way too far down so that you can't see, but this doesn't happen in GD, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I guess that's it. So if you want to change the background, you can do that using this thing. You can make it like pinkish, reddish, whatever you want. Let's go for something like that. And also finally we want to add hitboxes to our blocks by using hide on giving them a new layer. We're going to do this. I don't know why it doesn't just copy it for the hide, but whatever. And for the slopes, we're going to use these guys. Just make sure you actually rotate them correctly like so. And you're not going to fall in here, but just in case, we're going to do that and make them all hidden. And yeah, we have created it, but it doesn't really work, so we're going to do the robots. All right. I don't know if this works, but we're going to do like a darker, lighter version. I don't really know colors. It's a bit weird. Yeah, something like that I feel like works pretty fine. All right. So one thing, bro, I love just spicing things. I was about to like exit this, but we're gonna do something even cooler. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna select this thing. You wanna go to select filter in here. You wanna enable that. Click to here. Click here and give it 8 because it's the same color as this, so that we only select these guys that have the color of 8. And give those guys a new group ID of, let's say, 5. And now we're going to use an area tint trigger by going to here and going to P1. We're going to do 5. We're going to do this. We're going to do that and something like this maybe. And now we're just going to have to play around with this. So the brightness, of course, is going to be really high. And now you guys can see that we're basically like lighting these as we go through it. But that was actually a bit too much. So we're going to do something like that. Just adjust the colors. And I don't want it to change too much. That's why I'm using the saturation. And the HSV system. Oh yeah, this is exactly what I want. So just adjust the offset now. And you guys can see that if you walk on it, it's just going to start changing color, which looks beautiful. You can make it change its color to yellow. Yellow looks pretty nice. And yeah, I guess that's a beautiful tutorial. So just make sure the player never, ever sees the end of this guy. So we're going to do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this block right here because that's the end. I'm going to give it a group ID of 6 and then I'm going to add a camera edge. We're going to do 6 on the right side. And now the game, I don't know what the game is going to do, but the camera is not going to go to the right side. So yeah, dude, this might be one of the coolest like 3D thing I have ever made. But you guys are going to see that there is this weird thing on the left and the right side. To get rid of that, just add this thing, or you can select everything here, don't fade, don't enter. But I like to use the trigger because you don't have to like keep updating every single new object that you add. And with that, we have created a beautiful looking 3D effect that even acts when you touch it. So that's just a beautiful tutorial. Feel free to rewatch this tutorial as many times as you guys want. Slap the sub and also the like, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys. Also watch the tutorials that are currently on the screen. The playlist is so helpful, you guys have no clue. So watch that and I will see you guys over there. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget the sub and also the comment. See you guys.